Hey guys, Jim Skelton here. Welcome back to the 5-Minute Watch Review. Here we're going to take more or less 5 minutes to discuss some of your favorite watches, give you some of the features and benefits, and help you make that buying decision, including the most important part, talking about the pricing and if it's really worth the price that we're seeing it for.
To choose. Have you seen the Fleuss made by Spinnaker watch? It's got my head loose. A modern design with retro styling, colors so understated and sexy. Unlike so many other brands today, the size isn't made for the wrist of a baby. It's not a huge clown watch either. It's just a perfect man-size display. Bright blue, sapphire crystal. Oh baby, movement so reliable. Colors on point, making it undeniable. It's got that understated elegance. It's mellow and laid back, if that's your preference. If you were looking for decadence, then there are plenty of other brands to suit your arrogance. For your money on silly extravagance, I'd rather have some soul on the wrist. The Fleuss is named for the famed inventor of scuba. His name was Henry Fleuss. That's why pronunciation is important here. Stop talking out your rear. You can't keep saying Fleuss unless you want me to boot you in your caboose.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Jim here, and I'd like to share with you a very special watch. Now, as you saw from the photography preceding this, this is a rather unique and rather exciting watch that I'm about to delve into here. And the very first time, from what I can recall, that I have reviewed a skin diver type of watch here on this channel. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the Spinnaker Fleuss GMT Automatic. This is the packaging that it will come in. Nice and clean and classy. And here she is. One thing I would like to applaud Spinnaker on is the fact that they have made an adult, grown man-sized watch here. Every time I turn around, these micro brands, you don't really have to call Spinnaker a micro brand, but a smaller, lesser known brand than the big brands, have a problem with, I guess, only listening to people that complain online. And those, I guess, are all skinny-wristed adolescent children, because everybody's making 38, 39, 40 millimeter watches for men like it's 1967. This is a 43 millimeter, which, as I've demonstrated to you guys before, is the proper size for an adult American wrist. So there it is on my wrist. I'm not overweight. You see that my wrist bone is right here. I don't have an inch of fat I'm trying to get through or anything like that. I'm just a man-sized guy. So 42, 43, 44 is the perfect zone. And I always have to clarify what I mean, because when I say, hey, these 40 millimeter watches and 38 millimeter watches are baby-sized watches, why are you doing that? People go, well, it doesn't need to be some big old clown watch. No. I'm not asking for 48, 50 millimeter watches. 42 to 44 is a good standard size for an American male, adult American male. Just putting it out there. So thank you to Spinnaker for recognizing that not everybody is a 5'6", 120-pound person that's trying to wear a man's sport watch. Dress watches, I get it. Dress watches can be smaller and it works. But a sport watch or a casual wear watch like this, honestly, you want a little bit more presence, and you want it to actually fit your wrist, not be this teeny tiny little thing sitting on top of it. Anyway, I digress. For longer than I can remember, people have asked me what the perfect daily wear watch was. In my replies, I always broke it down to sport watches and other for dressed up and dressed down attire. And for sport watches, my answer was simple. If you're a jeans and t-shirt kind of guy or just don't really dress up, a dive watch is going to be your go-to. And for me, it's always been the Omega Seamaster Pro. I think that that is probably the best all-around everyday wearable watch that you can get in a dive style watch. And it can actually be dressed up with a suit as well. For other casual wear, it was always Panerai, like the PAM 312 that I bought and you saw me review several years ago here on my channel. And yet that was another one that could leap to dressy because of the beautiful finishes and the availability of exotic straps. But now I think I found the next perfect all-around daily wear watch that could be worn with everything. Hippie with torn jeans and tank top? Spinnaker. Hanging out in jeans and a t-shirt? Spinnaker. Running errands in jeans and a polo shirt? Spinnaker. Playing tennis in your cute little tennis outfit? Spinnaker. Hanging out on South Beach in your Speedo with your man tits on display? Spinnaker. Dress pants and a button-down shirt in the office? Spinnaker. Board shorts and a Hawaiian shirt? You guessed it, bruh. Spinnaker. I think that's a really good way to encompass what I think I appreciate the most about this watch. Let me clean up the area here a little bit and get some of this stuff out of the way. Now, the Blonde Pen 50 Fathoms is a nearly universally beloved skin diver design that's low-key, refined, and rather simple. Easily passing as a dress watch or a casual wear daily watch, so it's become an inspiration for countless watch brands who are looking to capture that same feeling in a watch design. While not a direct copy, the Fleuss is strongly reminiscent without coming too close to the inspiration. The spirit is definitely present, don't get me wrong, but you don't feel like you're wearing some sort of knockoff or anything. Now, I know you've heard this model name mispronounced by every single person who has reviewed this watch, so it makes it hard to listen to me pronouncing it correctly, but the watch is named after Henry Fleuss, who is credited as the first ever scuba diver. Now, while he invented a number of things, including the Fleuss vacuum pump and a steam-powered car, he's actually most well known for inventing the self-contained breathing apparatus, scuba, the rebreather, using compressed oxygen. Funny enough, if you don't know the story, he was one of those inventors that died by the hand of his own invention. Yeah, so keep that in mind too. Originally designed in 1876, he was granted a patent for the rebreather in 1878. Up until then, if you were a diver, you had a big hose connected to the top of your helmet, and that was pumping air down to the diver from a boat up on the surface. So they were tethered to the boat at all times. Scuba gave them the freedom to dive and move around as they wished, independent of the boat up on the surface. So in honor of the trailblazing contributions that Henry Fleuss made to the world of diving, Spinnaker created the Fleuss divers in the Automatic and GMT Automatic as an homage to him. Now, the parent company of Spinnaker is Solar Time, which is part of the Dartmouth Group, and they own several watch brands. Some of them, I'll be honest, more exciting than others. Of particular interest to me is Spinnaker, Nubeo, which is kind of sort of a futuristic brand. I'm doing my best to get some Nubeo watches, so keep your eye on the channel in the future. They're a little bit crazier, a little bit more sci-fi in some ways, but I think they're definitely worth taking a look at. Their big parent company owning all of these sub-brands, in all reality, is the only thing preventing me from calling Spinnaker a micro-brand. They follow the micro-brand formula. Everything is fairly small runs. As a matter of fact, almost everything Spinnaker makes is a limited production or a limited edition. or some sort of special edition. They don't seem to have an endless supply of almost anything, although the Fleuss is a long-running model. Keep that in mind. I'm not saying that this is so exclusive and rare that you've got to go out and buy it right now. I'm not saying that at all. They've sold primarily online, direct to the consumer, with little or no real dealer presence. But I have seen at least one online retailer that has stocked them. So again, they're pulling away from the true micro brand philosophy, but they still feel like it. You know, they kind of have that feeling. They feel like an enthusiast brand. I think that's probably the better way to put it. Now, upon doing my research before jumping on this, I saw that years ago, Spinnaker did have some growing pains. They had some issues with quality control and customer service, which, as it seems, over the past couple of years, as I've watched other reviews and other people talking about them, that seems to all be rectified. So I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I was a little bit nervous waiting for this to ship and arrive, just hoping that there wasn't going to be any kind of crazy blatant issues. Good news, it is absolutely flawless. All the finishing is perfect. All of the mechanics, the operation of the watch, everything is completely perfect. So if you had seen older reviews of their products and heard some not so great things, and you've kind of formed that opinion about them, don't, because again, I only have a sample size of one right here, but so far, so very, very good. As a matter of fact, there are a number of Fleuss designs that I'm very attracted to. It was almost impossible to pick this tropical green as my one and only, but I got to tell you, man, this tropical green pulled at me like few other watches have. Part of that is I was born and raised in Florida, South Florida, so this is a very Miami kind of thing. If you go back to the 60s, 70s, and 80s, this was very much the color scheme of the Miami Dolphins, and a lot of things in Miami, painted in Miami buildings and whatnot. It's very reminiscent of that time. And I do love the fact that they give you the bracelet and the strap, and that you have quick release pins, not just on the strap, but also on the bracelet as well. And this was all machined perfectly. When I go to drop that solid end link back into place, the pins click in, no problem whatsoever. So let's talk very quickly about the specs. And then we're going to talk more about the things that I love about this watch and things that you should be aware of in case you've considered buying one, maybe that you need to know. First off, your case diameter is a true 43 millimeter case. The case thickness is 13 millimeters. Lug end to lug end is 51 millimeters, so that's how much room it's going to take up on the top of your wrist. And your lug to lug width is 22 millimeters, so you would be able to put on any 22 millimeter strap that you would like. The movement inside is going to be the SII NH34A, which is a 24 joule automatic GMT movement running at 21.6 with around 41 hours of power reserve. So for those who have never had this particular movement, that means that your date is set on the first click by turning counterclockwise. And when you turn it clockwise, you have the completely independent GMT hand. It is not running a slave to the hour hand. And then once you pull the crown to position 3, you're able to set the time. I'm just going to go ahead and screw that down there for the purposes of symmetry. It is a screw down crown because you've got 150 meters of water resistance. Now, I realize for a lot of people that's going to sound like a really weird number. You're used to hearing 50, 100, and 200, and then so on and so forth. 150 is actually a true skin diver. So it's not a scuba diver, it's not a deep diver, 200, 300, 500 meter, but it's not a splash resistant watch like a 50 meter. But 150 meters, this is going to be for absolutely everything that you're probably ever going to do in the water. Oh, by the way, back to the movement. It is a bi-directional winding rotor, so it doesn't matter what setting you use on a watch winder. You can run it clockwise, counterclockwise, doesn't matter. The no-no hours are from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Now, the crystal on this is a boxed sapphire crystal, which means it's slightly proud of the bezel. It stands up a little bit with a radiused edge. And it has a very, very slight dome to it, which will give you a little bit of distortion at the most extreme angles. It'll be provided to you with the steel bracelet, and it's the rice bead bracelet, as well as a nice rubber strap. It feels really good. It's almost as soft and flexible as FKM rubber, not quite, but almost. It's a really, really nice quality strap. And your overall weight is 190 grams. Now that I've got all those numbers and sizes and specs out of the way, let's get back to my feelings on the watch. Without a doubt, this is one of my favorite watch acquisitions of the entire year 2024 so far. So much so that I'm going to be hitting the secondary market for the one that they call the 50 Phantoms. If you don't know what that is, I'm not going to waste your time. You can Google it. You'll find it. The Spinnaker 50 Phantoms. It's a special edition made from the Fleuss model. It is super, super cool, but they are long sold out. The only way to get one is on the secondary market. And I'll be honest with you, people are killing people on the resale prices. And I'm just not going to spend that much. This is a fantastic watch, but it's not worth 2 to 3 times what the full retail was. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Now, you've got lots of lume on this dial and a lot of areas that you probably don't think are going to be lumed. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to break out a UV light, and I'm going to quickly throw some UV on this and let you see exactly how this thing glows. Now, I have a little bit of light leaking into my studio at this time of day, so I'm not going to be able to make it pitch black, but you'll get a really good idea. I love the fact that the chapter ring is lumed. It looks really cool, and it actually makes it easier to read your second time zone because the print on the lumed dial ring is black. So you're reading the shadow. It's fantastic. I love the fact that the bezel is done in lume as well. Here's the bad part. The lume doesn't last all that long. I was floored when this cream-colored dial ring just lit up. All of the cream-colored lume that's in there looks beautiful day and night. It's really awesome. But it falls short of superluminova. The compound is called New Light, and it appears to be a fairly inexpensive compound, at least when compared to the Swiss standard of superluminova. And it looks really good when it's got a fresh charge. It just doesn't last very long. And honestly, that's to be expected in this price point because you're not looking at a tremendously expensive watch. And that's really, really important to keep in mind. You're not going to get everything that you want to get in spades because there's going to have to be some give and take to give you all of what they're giving you in this whole package. So Japanese Nemoto lume is going to be stronger and longer lasting. Superluminova, of course, is going to be stronger and longer lasting. Lumetech's proprietary lume is going to be stronger and longer lasting. But it will work for you. So you go to bed with this on, you're struggling to fall asleep for an hour or two, you're going to be able to, in the dark, look at the dial and still be able to read the time. Are you going to read it at 4 o'clock in the morning? No, you're absolutely not going to. Now, the bracelet, I mentioned that a little bit earlier. It's a really cool design because what they've done here is they've executed it with these pinch-style quick-release pins. Now, You also get the rubber strap, which is going to be a big deal because they have done a nice color match to each of the different dial color combinations. Like if you get the blue and white, you're going to get a strap that really matches well against the blue and white. Here with the tropical green with the orange, you're going to get a nice match on that as well. And I cannot stress enough how much I love the muted colors. That really helps give you that vintage watch vibe as well. And while sometimes I do like very vivid, saturated colors, I'm really glad on this one they went rather muted and rather low-key. I think it looks fantastic. Now, I mentioned earlier it's almost impossible to pick a favorite. There were at least 3 of the Fleuss GMTs that I fell in love with. This was the one that hit me the hardest. I popped this in and out of my shopping cart 3 times over a 1-week period. And I spent a lot of time researching the watch and the brand and figuring out, is this something that I really want? There's so many great choices, but I still ended up going right back to this one. You may not like this off-color green. It may be kind of weird to you. But you're going to find, I promise you, one color in there that it's just going to pop for you. You're going to be like, I have to own this. Another problem is Spinnaker makes a lot of really cool watches. I've already decided the next watch that I get outside of the Fleuss line, I'm going to get a Picard. If you haven't looked at that, go to Spinnaker's website, look at the Picard. It is a super cool diver with a rather interesting feature that at first when you look at that feature, you're going to go, why? That's weird. Until you find out the inspiration for it, then you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Anyway, back to this specific watch. Sorry, I kind of wandered there. The bracelet is assembled with friction pins. Keep that in mind. You will need a pin pusher to push them out. You also have a 3-position, basically a full link size of micro adjustments in the diver's flip lock safety clasp with dual pushers, by the way. And it is a nicely milled clasp. It is not a cheap stamped steel clasp. They've actually given you a nice high quality bracelet here. And that's if you decide to even wear the bracelet. Once you've tried it on the strap, that may be your favorite way to roll. I don't know. But this watch, having it in hand and feeling the quality of it, definitely makes me want to explore many of their other offerings. So I'm going to. Like I said, I'm going to work hard to get a Picard. I want to get a couple more of the Fleuss GMTs. I'm going to find the 50 Phantoms it'll end up being on eBay. And hopefully someday somebody will put one up for sale that they're not trying to kill people on the price. By the way, if you're looking at selling a 50 Phantoms for, I don't know, let's see, they retailed at $350. So I'm not spending $800, $1,000, $1,100, $1,200 like I've been seeing them for. I think it's fair to pay around $500. You want to let one go for around that price? I'm your guy. Hit me up. Anyway, so the way I look at it is there is no wrong choice on this model because in my opinion, every colorway they make is beautiful and almost all of them are pretty understated. I could easily own one of every colorway and just wear this watch nonstop for months and months. Those of you that have known me for a number of years, whether personally or through the TV shows or through my YouTube channel here or Instagram, you know that I'm one of those kind of people that I'll actually change a watch more than once in a day. So to say I would wear one model of watch for months on end every single day, that's completely unlike me. But I'm a watch enthusiast. While I can be found changing watches in a single day just to experience the variety within my collection, and it's easy for me to get bored quickly, there are certain watches that you just fall for. And you're like, this is me. This is who I am now. And the Fleuss GMT Automatic is who I am now. I guess so. Anyway, thank you guys, as always, for joining me. I'm going to leave it off at that, and I will see you on the next video.